Well, I didn't get a record of this great piece, a great game, so I guess on the plus side, you won't have to wait too long for the moves. So this isn't a live playthrough, this is just the moves as recorded. So here we are, German player this was. Goes straight for the Fiancetto. When people do the Fiancetto to me, I always do the Fiancetto back. Because I don't think they expect it, and I think they think that the Fiancetto is going to be their secret weapon and not mine. So I always do it back to them. But obviously you have to do it like this. You've got to stick the knight there first. And I suppose about 60% of the time they take it because they think, well, they're going to mess up your structure. I don't think it does mess up your structure too much, actually, because after you've done this, and you're ready to castle already, and he's a bit of a mess, really, with a hole there that's not really for use. And he's got his queen and his other bishop both on the wrong colour. He should be moving his queen onto that black colour and making it into a Fiancetto bishop, in my opinion. Now, I've got both bishops out, sort of, because I'm trying to control his knights. So it's a knights versus bishops thing at the moment, and now out comes my knight. But as you see, the development side of things, I look more developed than he does. It's always good if you can achieve that. And now you see how the pawn structure is beautifully restored there. See how perfect that is. So by taking my knight, he didn't mess things up for me at all. In fact, I'm right up there covering half the board really nicely.
Kingside castling.
And what do you do?
Kingside castling.
Now, of course, he feels the urgency to castle himself, so you've got to get this bishop out of the way. This just to prevent the knight, his other knight, his queen knight, from coming forward too far. It surprisingly goes to that square as if I read his mind, which I'm sure I did, because obviously I couldn't cover that square as well. That would be covered with the next move, but now he does have a safe square to move to there. So that knight may be hard to shift. He may be after my bishop, but if he takes it, he completely restores my pawn structure. So we shall see. Got to come up here. This just to prevent him doing the annoying thing of coming to b7. And now he takes the bishop, and my pawn structure is restored. So I really don't see what the point of that was. I've got a good bishop now. I've got a pretty useful knight, fairly mobile, and he has got a goodish bishop, a bad queen, and an uncastled
Kingside castling.
I take it back. But you see, that's the end of the... anyway, this is the end of the opening. And now I start to advance on the queen side. Bit of a mistake because I didn't realise he could take that with impunity, which of course he does. I decide I don't want to lose that knight. So yeah, I have lost a pawn now, which is a bit annoying. So now he gets a bit cocky because of that and comes here. He's looking, of course, for this fork on my queen and rook. I'm not that stupid. Queen comes forward. Obviously, all my pieces, if you notice, all my pieces are on the dark squares now. So here's what light colour bishop is absolutely useless here. Can't help, can't back up that knight at all. And what does he do? Yeah, he brings the rook over to here because he sees that my queen is also attacking that pawn. It's not really a real threat. And now I decide let's bring the action onto these dark squares so his bishop's not involved with it at all. A bishop can't take en passant, I don't think. I think only another pawn can take en passant. So when you do this to a bishop, they can't take it. I'm pretty sure of that. Actually, this will allow me to do it if it's possible. No, see, that's not an en passant. If that were a pawn, it would be an en passant. Okay, so now he can only take it with the dark pawn. So instead he backs up, waiting for me to take. I don't decide not to. Instead attacking the bishop like this to encourage his pawns to come forward to support it. But instead he comes back. Not convinced about this. So I decide I'm going to break through. And one way or another, I break through. Of course, he does have a forward pawn now. This is all because he nicked that bishop, that pawn with his bishop. So he now does have a passed pawn, so I've got to be careful. Okay, so now it's time to advance on the king's side. kick away this knight, possibly even win it if we're lucky. He runs back with the bishop to try and support things, but it's getting a bit too little too late. And we have some jiggery pokery here, and this is an interesting move because he comes and attacks his pawn, and instead of trying to capture it, which simply he will recapture and give his bishop an attack on my rook, which I don't want, and I don't have any other option, I either take it or I don't, so I don't. Instead come here with one that gives me the same sort of advantage, because I will win the quantum here, he'll lose the knight, so, and an extra pawn. So he goes for that, which I was quite surprised about, really. So all the quantum's good there. I don't think he lost an extra pawn, actually, but it didn't do him any good. Now my queen is blockading very nicely this bishop, because now that he only has rooks, the only thing that can shift my queen would be a pawn or his queen. So, but he's still got a capture left here. Okay, so now this is the situation. This is a real situation after a proper exchange. Of course, my queen and my knight are both a little bit exposed. He's going to attack the queen. I need to keep on the knight. He doesn't really come for the knight, but he doubles towards it, so I need to get doubling myself. He changes his mind and attacks. Decides it's fun to attack that rook, which kind of pointless, really. Pointless move. And now queen to here. Well, that was the mistake, wasn't it? Because really, it would have made more sense to have moved his bishop back to there, ready for the queen mate, potentially in the future. But he didn't do that, he moved it to there. Now he's getting ready to perhaps pile onto my queen again with rooks, I don't know. So I come here and make this really nice geometry here, this really nice, really, really difficult to get through geometry here. And I don't know what the purpose of this move is. Perhaps he's preparing to double the rooks and leave someone babysitting that pawn while his queen goes off on an expedition. But it's time now for my pawns to continue their onslaught. He attacks this weak pawn here. I don't think the game's going to hinge on it. I don't believe at this point that the game will hinge on that weak pawn. Even though he can take my knight afterwards with check, I can recapture with my rook. It's not too bad. I just don't think the game's going to hinge on it at this point. I think the game's going to hinge on my barrage here. So I carry on with it. Look, and I'm there. I'm at the door now already, before he even has a chance to take that pawn. So he's got a decision to make, and he bypasses it.
Check.
So I capture this one with check. Captures with the queen. And now this...
Check.
Because his pawn there has gone,
Check.
I can stick my knight on here, which is nice because it's doubly... It's doing three things, actually. It's blocking his queen. It's protecting the pawn from the bishop attack. And it's also blocking his rook from coming down. It's also marking the g2 square for a potential checkmate. And all other kinds of horrors. So this move is really the move I've been hoping to make for so long. But his pawn had been in the way. Now he comes back to here. I don't know what he's thinking to do because everything that matters is on a black square right now. So his bishop is absolutely useless. I come up onto this white square temporarily because the idea is to come over to a black square here. And I get there just in time because he now can't take that pawn. And he still can't do anything. He can advance if he wants. Of course, he needed to do that because otherwise I would have captured with check. But now I've got this, you see. And with the blockade of the rook, this is really, really, really bad for him. Queen comes here. How can it help? Takes. Takes.
Check.
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 And a lovely diagonal check there. Really super.
Check.
And believe it or not, his king has no squares to move to here. I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? I didn't believe it myself. I used the rook thinking I could capture his other rook with my queen at a later point. After, going with a check down here at the bottom. With my rook down here at the bottom. But that was the reason I used the rook there. but quite stunned and staggered that he can't move. Look, only option he's got is the queen, and it can only move to either take the rook, in which case it's recaptured, or block. So at this point he resigned. So really, really great game. I mean,
Check.
he would have to take it, of course. With check, I have to recapture. And now whatever he does,
Check.
he's going to be in a world of pain.